Dyer, and welcome to another edition of the Roundball Report, the only show in the area dedicated to highlighting the excellence of the high school, college, and professional basketball teams which play in the Washington metropolitan area. And here with me again is my co-host and host from last week, the one and only former Holy Cross and Georgetown University star, future star of the Roundball Report, ESPN, and others, Miss Monica McNutt. Monica, thank you. I'm just... Let me have my chair back
always
this week.
Start the show like this.
You know, it's just an honor. I tell you, it's that glow. You know, people think I'm shining because I don't have makeup. It's just the deflection of the glow of success coming from you. But speaking about success, we are going to talk about the Final Four.
We are.
And the teams that were so successful. And we have a gentleman here who actually prognosticated
Absolutely.
some of the things.
If you recall, if you had the opportunity to check us out last week, Janae and I sat in for the one and only Andrew Dyer. I got to throw something back at you. We are joined again by Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman of the Dundalk Community College, and then, of course, Nikki Lewis, who is also a basketball coach, are on set with us, of course, to talk March Madness. Thank you for joining us, lady and gentlemen. Okay, Coach, so last week you told us, we'll jump right to it, Michigan and Louisville are playing for a national championship tonight. What do you think?
Well, I said that was a game I thought would be most fan-friendly because of the style of play. They're both going to play man-to-man. Louisville's going to press. The matchups you got all over the floor at the point guard spot. You got Siva against Burke. At the two guard, you got Smith against Hardaway. Down low, you got McGarry against Jang. I mean, everywhere you look, there's something that could happen in this game to tip it one way or the other. I picked Louisville before last week, and I didn't see anything that would deter me from that tonight. One of the things, Coach Pitino just elected to the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to him. If he wins his game tonight, he'll be the first Division I coach to ever take two teams to the national title game. He's taken three different schools, Providence, Connecticut, Louisville. No other coaches have won it multiple times, but never at two different universities.
Larry Brown didn't do it at UCLA and Kansas?
They lost Rocket Rod Foster.
So he took him, but he didn't win. But they didn't win.
Ooh,
yeah.
That was a blast from the past.
Yeah, you remember that?
They don't know Rocket Rod Foster.
Wasn't it for that?
He was close.
Man, wow, that's cool.
Just think of the modern day. What's the name of Louisville's point guard, number 2?
Russ
Smith.
Yeah,
the two guard.
Yeah, think of Russ Smith back in the 80s.
In the 80s. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Impressive. Yeah. Well, Nikki, I gotta make sure that you jump in on this. Talk about the road for these two teams together. I'm sure you had an opportunity to watch. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Who you got for tonight?
I've been following Michigan all season, so I'm really happy to see that they moved in, to the championship round. But Louisville seems to be a tough team. I mean, they just won't go away. So I think it's going to be a great matchup, and I'm hoping, that Trey Burke comes out and he's able to have a really good game this game, because against Syracuse he didn't do so well. But then he did have a supporting cast. Bench players came out, put up 20 and 16 points and helped him out. But I really like Trey. I'm a Trey fan.
And it's interesting because they both kind of have some things that would lead you to think their team's a destiny, because, I mean, Michigan was literally out for the count against Kansas, and Burke hit that three-pointer, and they've been on a roll since then. And, of course, Louisville is playing for their fallen player, Ware, and they've got that destiny on their side. And Coach Fly, I was like you. I picked Louisville in one of my brackets before the tournament, but I'm just looking at how Michigan has evolved and grown through the tournament. And with the emergence of McGarry, that allows them to have people like Horford and the veteran big post player that they have coming off the bench. And I'm just thinking from a depth perspective, that's normally how Louisville wears folks down with their pressure. You take Ware out of the mix and you add the depth that Michigan has, and I think it's going to be an excellent game.
It's going to be a dogfight. A lot of people, they talk about the guards, Smith and Siva and Burke and Hardaway. But to me, as a coach, this game's going to be one down low in the paint. I want to talk about Mr. Jang from Louisville, McGrady, and the power forward from Louisville, Bohannon. In the Syracuse game, Syracuse exposed Glenn Robinson in the 4 spot because he's really a 2 or 3 guy. He's 6'6", but he's only 215. Bohannon's 6'6", 250. I think Fair dropped 22 points on him in that game. Now, Fair is more of a medium-range jump shooter, step away from the basket, not a banger, but Bohannon's a banger. I'd look for Louisville early to go inside, to Jang
Test it out.
and Bohannon to test it out, like you said, and get into that lane, get to the free throw line, and get the game settled. Because if they can get scores early, they can immediately get into the full court pressure.
But Coach, I gotta ask you, I think you're onto something in terms of the matchup that we're going to see in the post. But if you look at the track record of these two teams as they move through the tournament, and Coach Pitino will say it flat out, he'll make no qualms about it, either Russ or Peyton are going to get in foul trouble. You look at Michigan on the other end, you've got a very skilled, very poised guard and Trey Burke, excellent supporting cast down the line. If one of those guys get into trouble, considering the accident or the injury to Kevin Ware, does Louisville have the depth to keep up with Michigan?
Well, they just showed that in the Wichita State win because the bench won the game. You had a guy that was a walk-on that came in and hit. They're down 12. He hit 2 threes. This guy hasn't hit any shots all year long.
I gotta hit you with the game of numbers at that point. That was outstanding, and we all love it as college basketball fans. But what are the chances that that happens again? And no, I'm not taking any credit away from Wichita State, but Michigan is an entirely different squad.
Well, I don't think Michigan's defense is at the level of Wichita State's defense. That's the difference. Wichita State, if you look at the statistics, they forced Louisville to take 25 three-point shots. When they ran their high screen and roll, which they do to free up Smith and Seaver, Duke fought over the screens and they burned them. Wichita State went under the screens, stopped the penetration, made them into shooters. Seaver 1 out of 9, 0 for 5 from the three-point line. The thing is, Michigan doesn't really press. So if one of those guys go out, you're bringing the ball up without any pressure on you. Smith can easily go back and get the ball up the floor. Where if Burke goes out, you have Skip Albrecht is going to play. And in the VCU game when they played, VCU similar style with the full court pressure, they actually put for periods of that game Burke and Albrecht in at the same time to break the pressure. So I look for that tonight because Louisville guard's only 6 foot tall. So Burke is 6'3", I think, and Albrecht is 5'11". So you can go to a smaller backcourt to break that Louisville pressure.
Okay.
And Coach Nikki, to piggyback on that, in 2 games that Louisville did struggle, Seaver has struggled with the outside shot. Georgetown dared him to shoot from the outside, and he didn't hit a shot the entire game. And he went 1 for 9 the other day. But Russ Smith had picked up the pieces, and as you said, but the kid that the transfer from George Mason steps up huge. Luke Hancock. He was an X factor the other day.
Well, like I said, I am rooting for Michigan. I've been watching them all. I've been watching them all season. I mean, I don't think Louisville down low in the post is going to be able to match up against.
It's got to be more than a feeling.
I got you, Coach.
I don't think Louisville is going to be able to handle McGarry in the post. I mean, he 12 boards last game. I mean, he is killing. If they can't stop him, I feel like he's going to out rebound. He's going to out muscle. He runs up and down the floor. If Michigan can push the ball in transition past Louisville, I really think it's going to make a great game, and I think it's going to push Michigan out in front.
And Coach, there's another X factor that Louisville has in terms of the post. The kid Montrezl Harrell. I mean, people are acting like he's a sleeper. This kid was the MVP of the Capital Classic and the Jordan game, if I'm not mistaken. He was originally going to go to Virginia Tech, but when they fired Seth Greenberg, he went to Louisville, and he's just a role player there. But he has a huge upside, and he's a monster on the boards.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's going to get heavy minutes next year. But the thing about what she said with McGrady is true. In the regular season, he only averaged 6 points and 5 rebounds. When they put him in the starting lineup for this tournament, he's averaging 16 points and 11 rebounds. Michigan, if they win, he has to produce a double-double because he frees up the perimeter shooters because the defense has to collapse on him. But my only concern with that is he's just one guy. They have 3-6 guy Hardaway, Stauskas, who's a three-point shooter, not a low-post defender, and Glenn Robinson, not a low-post. They're 6'6", but perimeter players. Louisville bangs the offensive glass when Smith and Seaver can get into the lane. That's why I think they're going to have to force them to take threes, because Louisville, other games, they only average 12 three-point shots a game. Wichita State forced them to 25 with 6:43 to go. That's when the game turned, when he hit the 2 threes. So for almost 32 minutes of that game, Wichita State had that in control. If I'm the coach of Michigan, I'm looking at that tape, and I'm going to duplicate that. The question is, can their defense can Hardaway at 6'6" keep Smith in front of him? Because when they get into the lane, even if they don't convert, Jang and Bohannon come on the weak side. Bohannon has 57 dunks on the season. All right. Dunks will beat three-point shooting all day long.
I hear you, Coach.
All right. You live by the three, you die by it. And I think you're going to need a mixture. But the game is going to be won. Louisville, I think it was 42 points a game in the first 4 tournament games in the paint, in the first wins before Wichita. If you can score in the paint, you're always going to the free throw line. That's the other thing is when Michigan upset Kansas, they only allowed them to take 10 free throws in that ball game. 10. If they keep them off the free throw line, they'll beat them. You got to play defense without foul.
All right, Marlon, so we got a coach on record for Louisville. We got this coach, Coach Nikki, on record for Michigan. The good thing about it is we're doing the show the night of the championship game. It's going to air after, so one of you guys is going to be a soothsayer. But while we got a few minutes left, let's turn it over to the ladies' side. I mean, another team with destiny, the Louisville Lady Cardinals. I mean, this is the year of the Cardinals. I mean, they did an incredible job knocking off Brittany Griner and followed it up by knocking off the legacy program, Tennessee. Almost let it slip away, struggled with Cal, had a miraculous second half, and everybody thought that set up everything for Skylar Diggins, Nikki, but UConn said no. You
said no, and I was really looking for the Fighting Irish to win that game. I really thought they were going to come out fighting harder than they did. I mean, they went like, what, over 12 in the first 5 minutes of the game. Really they missed a lot of layups. They missed a lot of shots. Skylar herself was like 0 for 6. Then went to the free throw line, hit her 2 free throws, but still, I mean, she had 2 great blocks, but I think they had a tough shooting game, and so did she. And I think it was a lot of pressure. I wonder if it was the pressure of you're on the big stage, now we have to really perform, but I think it was a good game. They pretty much knew where Skylar was going the whole game. It was like she couldn't make one move without being stopped.
I don't know if it was necessarily the pressure in terms of the Irish putting on themselves, but I think UConn made a concerted effort to intensify defensively. Like you mentioned, I mean, wherever Skylar was,
they were there.
They were right there. Mariah Jefferson, who was possibly one of the quickest young ladies in the game right now, all over Skylar consistently. I mean, you talk about being on the catch right there as a defender, and that was it.
Yeah, and she brought a new definition of face guarding, didn't she? Where she put the hand in the face?
Oh, yeah, she did. She did.
I mean, at that point, those teams have played each other 3 times this season already. So, you talk about the 4th matchup, talk about knowing a team so well and just trying to figure out who's going to outsmart who in terms of making the adjustment and who responds. Notre Dame didn't respond.
Yeah.
I give UConn all the credit. Breonna Stewart, I think she was probably the X factor as well. She's just long.
Oh, that freshman was incredible.
Oh, my gosh, she had an outstanding game.
But speaking about outsmarting each other, Coach Fly, what about the university presidents? I mean, you had 2 Big East teams in the Final Four on the men's side, 3 on the women's side, 2 in the championship game on the women's side, 1 on the men's side, and the conference is going to be dismantled. And the presidents, through their wisdom, are going to undo one of the greatest basketball conferences in history on the men and women's side. I'm
not sure I would call it wisdom.
That's fine.
I might call it financial gain. It's sad because as a Georgetown alum, you're losing historical matchups. Georgetown, Syracuse. The only way you get that back, and I'm sure CBS will do it when both teams get in the playoffs, in the March Madness again, they'll probably put them in the same bracket where they can go head-to-head at some point, later in the tournament. But unfortunately, in today's environment, money rules the world.
Money and football, God forbid.
We're going to go to a break right